A man who has spent more than 2 decades on death row is once again at the center of a legal battle that could determine his fate.
Williams was convicted and sentenced to death in the 1998 stabbing death of Alicia Gale. Just a few days, the case of Marcellus Williams will return to court in a pivotal hearing that could determine his fate, a former social worker and St. Louis Post-Dispatch reporter. The upcoming hearing on August 21st will see Bell's and Bailey's offices present their cases before the court. St. Louis County Prosecutor Wesley Bell's office stated they are waiting to be heard by the court before addressing this matter publicly.
Marcellus Williams, who has been on the gloomy row for over 2 decades for the 1998 knifing demise of journalist Felicia Gale, is set to be put down on September 24, 2024 at 6 p.m. But his case has recently kicked up a storm of controversy, with new evidence suggesting he might actually be innocent. Williams was convicted for the slaying of Gale in her University City, Missouri home. However, recent revelations are raising serious doubts about his guilt. DNA found on the knife and at the crime scene doesn't match Williams' profile. Even more damning, fingerprints, footprints, and hair samples discovered at the scene have all been ruled out as his, which begs the question, can we end someone's life without solid evidence? I guess so. A rare twist. In a rare twist, both St. Louis County prosecutors and Williams' defense team have come together to file a motion to overturn his penalty sentence. This move is unprecedented and shows a growing belief that Williams might not be the real culprit. The new DNA evidence, flagged by 3 prosecution experts, was initially reviewed 7 years ago, but was only recently brought to a Missouri judge on August 28, 2024. The prosecution's recent motion shines a spotlight on some major inconsistencies between the physical evidence and Marcellus Williams' alleged involvement in the crime. Felicia Gale, a reporter for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, was found with a knife embedded in her neck and had been knifed a brutal 43 times. At the crime scene, there were bloody footprints, fingerprints, and hairs clutched at Gale's hands, all of which don't match Williams' profile. In the latest court session, both the county prosecutors and Williams' defense team made a passionate plea to stop his execution and urged the judge to take another look at the evidence. Still moving forward. On the flip side, the Missouri Attorney General's office is still pushing to move forward with the penalty sentence. The judge has set a deadline for final arguments by September 4, 2024, before making a ruling. Williams' case has stirred up a lot of debate about potential justice mishaps. Initially, the investigation didn't make much headway until some informants pointed the finger at Williams. The recent Missouri law that allows for the re-examination of dubious convictions has reignited the fight for justice in this high-profile case. What really happened? We know Marcellus Williams has been on the row for over 2 decades and is set to face his end on September 24, 2024. His case, revolving around the 1998 brutal slaying of journalist Felicia Gale, is surrounded by serious controversy and fresh evidence that questions his guilt. Williams, who struggled with drug addiction, was initially arrested on August 31, 1998 for robbing a donut shop. His arrest in 1999 and subsequent conviction in 2001 were influenced by shaky testimonies from his girlfriend and an acquaintance. The jury that convicted him had 11 white members and just 1 black member, after 6 qualified black jurors were dismissed through preemptory challenges, a practice slammed by the Innocence Project and current prosecuting attorney Wesley Bell as a breach of Williams' constitutional rights. In 2015, the Missouri Supreme Court put a stop to Williams' penalty and brought in a special master to review DNA evidence, which ultimately excluded Williams as a match. However, the special master didn't address these findings, and the end date was reset for August 22, 2017. Just hours before the execution, though, Governor Eric Greitens stepped in with a stay and set up a board of inquiry to review the case. But in June 2023, Governor Mike Parson disbanded the board before it could deliver its findings, prompting Attorney General Andrew Bailey to push for a new end date. Williams' defense argues that this whole situation violated his constitutional rights, and a lawsuit challenging the governor's actions was dismissed by the state Supreme Court. As things stand, the execution date is now firmly set for September 24, 2024.
clearing the way for Williams' execution in less than 2 weeks. Missouri judge rejects all legal efforts to vacate Marcellus Williams' conviction and death sentence.
Based on this new DNA evidence that excluded Williams from the crime scene. Marcellus Williams has always maintained his innocence. Meanwhile, St. Louis prosecuting attorney Wesley Bell filed a motion to vacate Williams' conviction.
We don't know what would have happened had that evidence not been mishandled, had it not, not been lost. The ground zero for any work that we do to make sure that an innocent person is not incarcerated, but also not executed. The evidence and its mishandling definitely had an effect on the case overall. Had it not been basically destroyed for evidentiary purposes.
Today is a sad day for Missouri. It's a day that Missouri decided to tinker with. It's now saying, forget that. We're going to find you, we're going to kill you anyway. The day that they decided that a man who's found innocent based on DNA evidence.
New culprits come to light. Then came another crazy twist in Williams' case. On August 21, 2024, it came to light that prosecutors had accidentally tainted the evidence by leaving their own fingerprints on the slaying weapon. As a result, both sides struck a deal known as an Alford plea, where Williams would be taken off the row without admitting guilt, but the state would keep its conviction intact. Not backing down, Attorney General Andrew Bailey filed a writ to prevent any chance of resentencing Williams to life without parole. This move led to an evidentiary hearing on August 28, 2024. During the hearing, prosecuting attorney Wesley Bell confessed that the botched handling of evidence and the racially motivated removal of black jurors were indeed constitutional violations that compromised the integrity of the conviction. The Innocence Project has slammed these revelations as a serious miscarriage of justice, pointing out the racial bias and procedural blunders in the case. As the date approaches, the case continues to spark heated debate over Williams' guilt and the fairness of his trial. The latest developments only add more fuel to the already intense discussions about justice and capital punishment. A major roadblock. In latest news and a dramatic turn of events, Marcellus Williams' fight to escape the row hit a major roadblock this week. Williams was hoping an evidentiary hearing could clear his name, but instead of courtroom breakthrough, the week saw his plea deal unravel amidst a whirlwind of legal challenges, much to Williams' dismay. Williams has long been working with his lawyers to swap his penalty sentence for life without parole. On Wednesday, a deal was reached where Williams would accept an Alford plea. This arrangement would allow him to maintain his innocence while agreeing to a life sentence, bypassing the ending penalty and hopefully ending the case. But the deal didn't last long. The Missouri Attorney General's office, headed by Andrew Bailey, quickly shot it down. They argued that St. Louis County Circuit Judge Bruce Hilton didn't have the power to approve the plea deal without a full review of the evidence that could overturn Williams' original conviction. The Missouri Supreme Court then stepped in, putting a stop to the resentencing hearing and scrapping the agreement. So, as things stand, Williams' bid for a reprieve faces another major setback, and the fight over his fate continues with no clear end in sight.
There has been adequate time to do testing on different evidence and to make sure that their case is solid. So it's something that they're trying to downplay and trying to keep out of court. Conclusively said this is not Marcellus's DNA. Then that is not something that aligns with the state's position, right? And Marcellus's legal team, they've been able to secure a court date. Even though, like you said, last 30 years has been different, but so I really hope, have hope at this time that something positive will come out of this, either exoneration or new trial. Prosecutor being, on the side of justice right now, have had success with getting people exonerated.
No closure in sight. Tricia Rojo Bushnell, an attorney from the Midwest Innocence Project who's been fighting for Marcellus Williams, didn't hold back in her criticism of the Attorney General's office. She slammed their decision to block the plea deal, arguing it not only undermines the St. Louis County Prosecutor's Office's efforts, but also disregards what the victim's family wants: closure. This decision goes against the will of a duly elected prosecutor and the community he represents, not to mention the family that's already been through so much. It's not justice, Bushnell said. This clash comes amid a growing storm of controversy over the integrity of Williams' conviction. Earlier DNA tests on the slaying weapon had already ruled out Williams, but as recent findings showed that the evidence was tainted by mishandling, chaos erupted for things to be set right. Prosecutor Matthew Jacober pointed out the new tests revealed the evidence had been improperly handled, raising even more doubts about the forensic evidence that led to Williams' conviction. With the plea deal now off the table, Judge Bruce Hilton has set a new date for an evidentiary hearing on August 28, 2024. This upcoming session will be crucial, as it will dive into the DNA evidence issues and other concerns about whether Williams' conviction was fair. Both sides will get their chance to make their case, making this hearing a pivotal moment for Williams. The St. Louis County Prosecutor's Office is still seriously worried about whether Williams' conviction was handled properly. They're all in on reviewing the evidence to make sure everything's above board. Meanwhile, the Attorney General's office is sticking to their guns about sticking to the legal process, arguing that every step must be followed to the letter of the law. As the legal drama continues, Williams' defense team is on a mission to dig up any new evidence that could clear his name. The case is turning into a spotlight on the tricky issues within the justice system, especially when it comes to navigating potential wrongful convictions and the complexities of capital punishment. The tensions between ensuring justice and sticking to legal formalities are really heating up, making this a high-stakes battle with a lot on the line.
Let's get back to the breaking news.
There's always a chance to change course, and that's what we hope we'll see.
DNA evidence proves he's innocent. I spoke with Williams' lawyer about what's next in the fight for his release.
And now we know that DNA testing from the knife that was found still protruding from the victim is also not his. Bloody shoe prints were not his. The fingerprints were not his. Hairs found in the victim's hands were not his.
17 years of Missouri's death row. Just last weekend, I celebrated my 21st year of being exonerated.
At the end of the day, the criminal justice system has to have a component of finality, the evidence that jury relied on, and the victims. And I want to make sure that we always honor the victim's voice.
What do your crime antennas suggest about Williams after knowing his full story? Is his penalty sentence fitting of the evidence available against him in a crime he may or may not have committed? We'll await your thoughts in the comments below.